Friends, the one with the daughter from Yemen. Chapter 1. The Return from Yemen. The golden light of the setting sun illuminated the familiar apartment, the one with the purple walls, a cozy atmosphere, and home to countless memories. Monica, now older but with the same twinkle in her eyes, rummaged through a forgotten drawer, only to stumble upon a postcard. It had an exotic depiction of Yemen and was stamped from years ago. "Chandler, remember when you moved to Yemen?" she called out, holding the postcard up with a smirk, ready to throw a playful jibe. Back from behind the door leading to the bathroom, Chandler's voice floated out. "Do I 15 Yemen Road, Yemen? How could I forget the address I never lived at?" Monica chuckled. "I always wondered what would happen if you actually went there for real." As the moment hung in the air, there was an unexpected knock at the door. Expecting one of the usual gang, Monica casually walked over and pulled it open. Standing there was a young girl, about 18. Her brown eyes, the way her hair fell, even the quirk of her lips. There was something oddly familiar about her, resembling a younger Chandler. "Can I help you?" Monica asked, her brows furrowing slightly. The girl took a deep breath. "Hi, my name's Alyssa. I think Chandler Bing is my father." Before Monica could process this bombshell, Joey's voice boomed from the hallway. "Hey, Mon, I thought I heard a young lady's voice. How you doing?" He came into view, pausing for a moment as he spotted the young stranger. Without missing a beat, he nudged Chandler, who had just emerged from the bathroom. "Hey, Chan, when did we get a new neighbor? And why wasn't I informed?" Alyssa, perhaps taking after what might be her father's sense of humor, dryly said, "Great, my potential dad's best friend is hitting on me. Could this day get any weirder?" Chandler's face went pale, eyes darting between Monica and the young girl. "Wait, who are you? You're past catching up, maybe?" Alyssa responded, holding out a diary. "This belonged to my mother. She said she met you in Yemen." Joey's eyebrows knitted together in confusion. "Wait, I thought you didn't really go to Yemen." Chandler swallowed, his usual sarcastic demeanor replaced by genuine bewilderment. Not for long." "Oh, God." Monica, every bit as shocked, whispered, "Chandler, is she—" Alyssa glanced between them all, her youthful eyes seeking answers. "Look, my mother passed away a few weeks ago. I found this diary among her things, and your name, Chandler, was in it." Monica took a deep breath, still trying to process the situation. "Okay, let's all sit down and talk this out." As they settled into the familiar settings of the living room, the room that had seen countless heartbreaks, makeups, and endless laughter, the group braced themselves for yet another unforgettable chapter in their intertwined lives. Chapter 2. Could I be more surprised? As the door to Joey and Chandler's old apartment swung shut, the room was filled with an air of uncertainty. Chandler, usually the one with a sarcastic remark ready, was lost for words. He glanced at Monica, whose brow was creased with concern. Joey, utterly oblivious to the tension, was in the kitchen making a sandwich. Monica finally broke the silence. "Chandler, did when you were in Yemen?" Chandler blinked, taking a deep breath. "Honey, I swear, I was only in Yemen for like a minute. And most of that minute was spent trying to figure out how to get out of Yemen." Joey, mouthful of sandwich, interjected, "Wasn't there a cute flight attendant you were talking about when you returned?" Joey, Chandler, and Monica exclaimed in unison. Phoebe, who had been lost in thought, suddenly perked up. "Wait, I can help." She reached into her boho bag, pulling out a bundle of sage. "I can do a spiritual DNA test. It's just like a regular DNA test, but more," she waved her hand, "mystical." Alyssa, trying to lighten the mood, chuckled. "Is that like checking our star signs for compatibility?" Phoebe smiled warmly. "Oh, honey, that's just the tip of the iceberg." Ross, ever the voice of reason, or so he liked to think, suggested, we could just do a real DNA test." "That's a thought." Chandler shot Ross a look. "All right, Mr. Science Guy, let's not jump into conclusions. For all we know, this could just be a mix-up." Alyssa hesitated, then softly said, "My mom, she wrote about you, about the brief time you two shared in Yemen. It's all in her diary." She gently placed the diary on the coffee table. Rachel, holding back tears, reached out to hold Alyssa's hand. "This must be so hard for you, sweetie. Coming here, meeting all of us, finding out about—" She glanced at Chandler. "Everything." Alyssa nodded. "Yeah, but I had to know. I had to meet him." Ross, always trying to bring logic into emotional situations, said, "Look, the best way to confirm all this is a DNA test. It's simple and accurate." I mean, dinosaurs didn't have them, and look where they ended up. Phoebe chimed in. Actually, I once dated a guy who believed he was a reincarnated T-Rex. So, as Alyssa laughed, Monica noticed the unmistakable glint of Chandler in her eyes. Regardless of the results, the Bing sense of humor was definitely there. All right, Chandler sighed. Let's do the test. Not because I don't believe you, he said, looking at Alyssa, but because we all need clarity. Joey, sandwich in hand, cheerfully added, yeah. And while we wait, we can play Bamboozled. Remember, Chandler? Monica groaned. Oh, not Bamboozled? Chandler smirked, his classic wit returning. Hey, if I'm going to have a potential daughter, she might as well know the kind of ridiculous games her father was subjected to. Alyssa grinned. Bring it on. And with that, the room echoed with laughter, a familiar sound that had seen this group through the best and worst of times. Whatever the DNA test would reveal, one thing was clear. Alyssa was already becoming a part of their unconventional family. Chapter 3, Central Perk Confessions. The orange couch, now somewhat worn from years of use, was once again the center of attention. Central Perk hadn't changed much over the years. The ambiance was still warm, the coffee was still rich, and Gunther was still, well, Gunther. His hair just a few shades paler. Ross, sipping his coffee, looked at Alyssa. You know, this is where we spent a major chunk of our lives. If these walls could talk, Joey, confused, looked around. Wait, walls can talk? Rachel smirked. No, sweetie, it's just a saying. Alyssa chuckled. It's okay. Mom used to tell me about how Dad talked about Joey, that he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but had the biggest heart. Joey beamed. Yeah, I do have a big heart. Phoebe, ever the observer, noted, I sense a lot of Chandler in her. Like, a lot. Alyssa smiled. Mom used to tell me stories about their time together. She mentioned this place a lot, said it was where Chandler's coffee gang hung out. Rachel laughed. Coffee gang. Oh, that's a new one. Sipping her latte, Alyssa began. She told me about this time when Chandler had to wear a wooden leg. Ross choked on his coffee. Wait, that was a lie he made up to break up with a girl. Joey added, yeah, and then there was the whole moving to Yemen thing, which actually turned out real, kinda. Alyssa raised an eyebrow. Wow, so Dad was quite the storyteller, huh? Rachel nodded. Oh, he had a way of getting himself into the most hilarious and awkward situations. Feeling a bond with Alyssa, Rachel decided to share. Did he ever tell you about the time he was trapped in an ATM vestibule with Jill Goodacre? Alyssa looked puzzled. Who's Jill Goodacre? Phoebe smirked. Oh, honey, before there was social media, there was Jill Goodacre. Joey, reminiscing the past, decided to try his luck. You know, since you're getting to know your dad through stories, how about I teach you one of my classic moves? He winked. How you doin'? Alyssa chuckled, effortlessly mimicking Joey's iconic line with a sultry tone. How you doin'? Ross laughed. Oh my God, she's better at it than you ever were. Alyssa, now more comfortable, opened up. You know, my mom really loved Chandler, but she knew he had his life here, and she had hers. She never wanted to intrude, but she always hoped I'd come to know this part of my heritage. Rachel, touched by the sentiment, replied, well, Alyssa, Chandler might have been the king of sarcasm and running away from relationships, but when he was committed, he was all in. He loved Monica with all his heart. Sometimes, life has a funny way of revealing its secrets. Phoebe, trying to lighten the mood, strummed her guitar. Wanna learn Smelly Cat? Alyssa beamed. I'd love to. Gunther, overhearing the conversation, walked over with a coffee on the house for Alyssa. For Chandler's daughter. He owes me for all the free coffee I gave him over the years. Alyssa grinned. Thanks, I'll make sure to remind him of his debt. As the group laughed, the warmth of Central Perk once again enveloped them, bridging the past with the present. It was the beginning of a new chapter, with the same old coffee gang. Chapter 4, Daddy's Day Out. Chandler gazed out of the window, the old New York streets flooded with memories of a time gone by. He remembered the night he and Joey got robbed, the countless Thanksgivings at Monica's, and the countless jokes about Ross's divorces. Now, there was another memory to add. The day he discovered his daughter. He glanced at Alyssa, who was flipping through channels, landing on Wheel of Fortune. Could you be any more like me? He mumbled under his breath, a hint of sarcasm dripping from his words. Hearing him, Alyssa smirked. Did you say something, Dad? Chandler hesitated at the title, but nodded, just observing how much we have in common. Deciding to break the awkwardness, Chandler suggested, how about we go out? You know, explore the city a bit? Alyssa's eyes sparkled. Sure, but no museums or boring stuff, okay? Laughing, Chandler replied, "Oh, I know just the place. Ever been to an arcade?" Alyssa's eyes widened in delight. "I love arcades. Mom said you once spent a night at one because of some Ms. Pac-Man game." Chandler smirked. "Ah, yes, the Miss Pac-Man saga. Your Uncle Ross and I had quite the rivalry." As they stepped out, Chandler felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. They wandered around the city, sharing stories and laughs. The arcade, unsurprisingly, was the highlight. The neon lights blinked as sounds of electronic chimes and buzzers echoed around. Chandler pointed. "Ah, there she is, Miss Pac-Man." Alyssa laughed. "I bet I could beat your high score." Chandler smirked. Challenge accepted. Passing hours flew by as the duo battled it out, attracting a small crowd of onlookers. By the end of it, Alyssa's initials were etched right above Chandler's on the scoreboard. "You know, it's uncanny how good you are," Chandler admitted, catching his breath. Alyssa grinned. "It's in the genes." As they left the arcade, the mood turned sentimental. "You know, Alyssa, I'm truly sorry I wasn't there for you. I didn't even know you existed, but I promise, from now on, I'll be there." Alyssa nodded, her eyes misty. "It's okay, Dad. We have now, right?" Meanwhile, at Monica and Chandler's apartment, Monica was deep in thought. She confided in Rachel, "It's just she's so much like him, and he seems so happy around her." Rachel tried comforting her Mon. "Chandler loves you. This doesn't change anything between you two." Monica sighed. "I know, Rach. It's just hard seeing a piece of Chandler's past walk into our lives." Back on the streets, Chandler and Alyssa grabbed hot dogs from a street vendor. "You know," Chandler began, "this day, it's been one of the best I've had in years." Alyssa smiled. "Same here, Dad." The New York sunset painted the skyline in hues of pink and gold as father and daughter walked, their bond strengthening with every step. This was just the beginning of many days to come. Chapter 5. Phoebe's Prediction. The morning sun shone brightly into Phoebe's eclectic apartment. The scent of incense filled the air. Crystals were strategically placed by the window, their colors sparkling in the sunlight. Phoebe, looking particularly bohemian with a dreamcatcher headband, was seated cross-legged on her floor, surrounded by a circle of salt. She was staring intently into a crystal ball. She gasped dramatically. I see, oh my God, they killed Kenny." Suddenly, a knock at the door startled her. She quickly hid the South Park DVD she was watching, adjusting her headband. "Come in." The door swung open to reveal Rachel and Joey. "Hey, Phoebes," Rachel greeted. "What's up?" Phoebe tried to regain her spiritual aura. "I just had a vision. A vision about Chandler's time in Yemen." Joey's eyes widened. "Does it involve a chicken?" Phoebe squinted. "No, Joey. Why would it involve a chicken?" Joey shrugged. "I dunno, just felt like Yemen might have some crazy chicken stories." Rachel rolled her eyes. "So, Phoebe, what did you see?" Phoebe took a deep breath. "I saw Chandler. He was in Yemen being brainwashed. They were making him watch endless reruns of Baywatch and forcing him to say, 'Could I be watching any more Baywatch?'" Joey's face lit up. "Oh, I remember that episode. Was I there?" Rachel groaned. "Joey, that wasn't an episode." "And I think Phoebe might be confusing real memories with TV." Phoebe waved her off. No, Rachel, the spirits are clear. Chandler was brainwashed. We need to save him." Joey jumped up. "From the Yemenites." Rachel sighed. "No, Joey. From his past." Soon the group, minus Chandler, gathered at Monica's apartment for a faux intervention. Ross had already prepared his infamous laminated lista of things they needed to cover. "Okay, so if Chandler was brainwashed, we need to de-brainwash him." Ross began, looking way too enthusiastic. Monica, still struggling with her emotions about Alyssa, chipped in. "We need to remind him of who he really is. I've got some old videos of us." "The prom video? The one where he's in a box?" Phoebe clapped her hands together. "I have a song prepared." Rachel smirked. "Is it a new one or the one where New York has no power and you thought the world was ending?" Phoebe pouted. "That was a hit." The door creaked open and Chandler walked in, confused by the setting. "Hey, what's going on? Is this another one of Joey's game nights?" Monica stepped forward. "Chandler, honey, we're here because we care. And we're worried you've been brainwashed in Yemen." Chandler blinked. "Brainwashed? I was there for 2 days." Joey nodded seriously. "That's enough time, Chandler. They brainwashed you with Baywatch." Chandler raised an eyebrow. "Joey, are you suggesting Yemen is just a giant beach?" Phoebe strummed her guitar, beginning her song, "When the sun goes down, on the streets of Yemen town." Chandler, "Don't you frown? 'Cause we're here to break it down." Rachel couldn't help but laugh. Okay, enough. This is ridiculous. Monica sighed, hugging Chandler. I'm sorry, Chandler, it's just everything with Alyssa. It's been hard. We wanted to lighten the mood. Chandler, ever the joker, replied, Well, could you be any more misguided? Ross smirked. There's the Chandler we know. The group ended the evening in their signature fashion: pizza, laughter, and reminiscing. It was evident, no matter what curveballs life threw at them, their bond remained unbreakable. Chapter 6, the one with the DNA test. Central Perk hadn't changed much over the years. The smell of coffee beans still filled the air, and the familiar orange couch remained, worn out but cherished. On this particular morning, it witnessed the nervous tension emanating from the group as they waited for the results. Monica was tapping her foot anxiously, a habit she rarely exhibited. How long does it take to open an envelope? Rachel, sitting beside her, tried to comfort her friend. Mon, it's going to be okay. Regardless of the results, we'll deal with it together. Joey, with his signature confused look, whispered to Ross, So this DNA thing, that's like when they find out who the father is on those TV shows, right? Like Murray? Ross nodded, rubbing his temples. Yes, Joey. But without the dramatic audience. Phoebe, ever the odd one, added with excitement. You guys remember the time I thought my mom's spirit was in a cat? Chandler, clearly trying to divert from the tension, quipped, Phoebes, how is that related? Phoebe shrugged. It's not, but it's better than sitting here all tense, right? Alyssa, having been quiet till now, finally spoke up. Look, I know this is hard for everyone, and I'm sorry. I just needed to know the truth. Monica looked at her, her eyes softening. Sweetheart, regardless of the results, you've become part of this family. We've had our ups and downs over the years, and we always come out stronger. Chandler nodded in agreement, wrapping an arm around Monica. She's right. Though if you turn out to be my daughter, you have to promise not to bring up my old hairstyles. Alyssa chuckled. Deal. The moment of levity was cut short as the door opened to reveal Gunther holding an envelope. The group exchanged anxious glances. Ross, ever the paleontologist, took a deep breath. Okay, let's see those results. I've always wondered how accurate these are, scientifically speaking. Rachel gave him a playful nudge. Not now, Ross. He opened the envelope, scanning the contents quickly. A heavy silence followed. Well, Joey blurted, Is Chandler the father? Ross finally replied, his voice filled with mixed emotions. Yes, Alyssa is indeed Chandler's daughter. But the weight of the revelation sunk in. Tears filled Monica's eyes, but she managed a small smile at Alyssa. Phoebe pulled out her guitar as if ready to play a song for the moment, but stopped herself, feeling the solemnity of the occasion. Alyssa approached Chandler, uncertainty in her eyes. Dad? Chandler, choked up, pulled her into a tight embrace. Yeah, Dad. We'll figure this out. Joey, breaking the somber mood, asked, So, does this mean I can teach her to say how you doin'? Now, Rachel and Ross exchanged amused glances. They'd come a long way from their on-again, off-again romance. Ross mused aloud. Remember when we got that marriage annulled? Rachel smirked, which time the group laughed, finding solace in humor. Whatever lay ahead, they had each other, and that was all that mattered. As they left Central Perk arm in arm, the orange couch remained a silent witness to another chapter in their lives. Chapter 7. Monica's Meltdown. Monica's kitchen was her sanctuary. The gleaming countertops, the carefully arranged utensils, the smell of freshly baked cookies, it all provided a sense of control and comfort. But today, as she prepared dinner, her movements were erratic and her thoughts jumbled. What if Chandler had never come back from Yemen? Would he have married her? Would Alyssa have grown up with her father? Would there even be a Monica and Chandler? She pondered aloud. The thoughts consumed her as she aggressively chopped vegetables, and in her distraction, she accidentally nicked her finger. Damn it, she exclaimed, grabbing a towel. Ross, hearing the commotion, walked in concerned. Mon, you okay? Monica sighed honestly. Ross, no. Ross gently took her hand, examining the small cut. I meant this, but clearly, there's more going on. Monica pulled up a chair. It's just, Alyssa's existence has made me question everything. What if Chandler and I weren't meant to be? What if our whole life together was just an accident? Ross sat down opposite her, Mon. Remember when I got that ridiculous sound system that took up half my living room? Monica chuckled. The one where the volume only went from really loud to earth-shattering. Ross nodded, right? But it taught me something. Sometimes we make choices that don't make sense or that we regret, but they lead us to where we need to be. You and Chandler are perfect together. Alyssa doesn't change that, Monica smiled weakly. Thanks, Ross, but what if, before she could complete her thought, Alyssa entered the kitchen. Hey, I smelled cookies. Thought maybe we could bake some together? Monica hesitated, but seeing the genuine hope in Alyssa's eyes, she nodded, sure, let's do it. As the two got to work, Alyssa confessed, I always wanted to learn to cook. My mom, she wasn't the best in the kitchen. She once burned water. Monica laughed. Sounds like Rachel in the early days. Remember her trifle? Alyssa chuckled. Dad told me. With beef and peas, right? Monica nodded. Exactly. But we ate it anyway because that's what friends do. They worked in tandem, mixing, rolling, and baking. With every batch, Monica's heart warmed up to Alyssa. While waiting for the cookies to bake, Alyssa opened up, I've read about you in my mom's diary. She always said how strong and loving you were, and that if Chandler had to end up with anyone other than her, she was glad it was you. Tears welled up in Monica's eyes. Alyssa, I'm so sorry you had to grow up without Chandler, but know this, you're part of this family now. In Dellers, we're tougher than we look. Alyssa smiled, thanks, Monica. Monica's anxieties began to melt away. The evening that began with apprehension ended with Monica, Ross, and Alyssa indulging in warm cookies and sharing stories about the ever-embarrassing Chandler. Later, as Chandler returned home, he found Monica and Alyssa asleep on the couch, a tray of half-eaten cookies between them. With a grateful smile, he draped a blanket over them, whispering, Welcome to the family, Alyssa. Chapter 8, A Shocking Return. It was a quiet afternoon at Central Perk, the air filled with the familiar aroma of coffee and the soft strumming of an amateur musician in the corner. The gang, minus Joey, sat around their usual couch when a loud voice sent shivers down Chandler's spine. Oh my God! The gang's heads turned simultaneously toward the entrance. There she stood, in a flashy leopard print dress with a bow wrapped around her neck. Janice, Chandler's eyes widened in horror. Could today be any worse? Rachel whispered to Ross. Seriously, what are the odds of running into all our exes this week? Is Mercury in retrograde or something? Ross replied, It's not a real thing. Phoebe, with her usual eerie intuition, had been preparing for this. You know, I had a bad feeling this morning. It was either this or that my sandwich had gone bad. Janice sauntered over, her eyes darting between Chandler and Alyssa. Chandler Bing, and who's this lovely young lady? I didn't know we had a teenage daughter. Alyssa looked perplexed. Monica took a deep breath. Janice, this is Alyssa, Chandler's daughter, but not with you. Oh, thank heavens. Janice sighed dramatically, flipping her boa over her shoulder. For a second, I thought I forgot a whole period of my life. Would not be the first time, she winked. Alyssa, trying to make sense of the eccentric woman in front of her, asked, So you and my dad... Janice leaned in, oh honey, Chandler and I have a love story that rivals Romeo and Juliet, except less tragic and more on and off. Chandler groaned. It was mostly off. Janice's phone buzzed, and she pulled out a leopard print encased device. After a quick glance, she gasped, Well, look at that. Joey Tribbiani has asked me out on a date tonight. She looked suspiciously at Chandler. Is this one of your pranks, Bing-a-ling? Chandler raised his hands defensively. I swear I have nothing to do with this. Meanwhile, Joey, oblivious to the storm brewing at Central Perk, prepared for his date at his apartment. The doorbell rang, and he quickly checked himself in the mirror before opening the door. Janice, Joey exclaimed in disbelief, a look of horror on his face. Joey? Janice mimicked his tone. Joey scratched his head. I thought I was going on a date with Jeanette, Chandler's colleague. I swear autocorrect will be the end of me. Janice giggled. Well, since we're both here, why not go out? It'll be like old times. Joey considered it for a moment. Well, as long as there's food involved. Back at Central Perk, the group tried to calm Chandler down. Alyssa laughed, Dad, relax. She seems fun in a loud and intense way. Chandler grumbled, You don't have to live with the memory of her singing endless loves in karaoke. The day concluded with Joey and Janice laughing over dinner, reminiscing about old times, much to Chandler's chagrin. Chapter 9. The one where they all grow up. The subtle hum of conversation and the familiar aroma of Central Perk's coffee set the scene for the gang's reunion. Everyone was there, including Alyssa, who had quickly become an integral part of the group. Ross leaned back on the couch, sipping his coffee. You know, all this makes me feel so old. I remember when Ben was Alyssa's age. Now he's out there exploring the world. Rachel laughed. Just yesterday, Emma was asking if I could pass on one of my old dresses for her prom. I mean, it's vintage now, I guess. Monica, having moved past her initial shock and turmoil, looked at Alyssa, who was eagerly chatting with Joey about food. Look at her. It's as if Chandler and I had her together. The way she rolls her eyes and talks about food, it's a mix of both of us. Phoebe, ever the spiritual one, nodded sagely. The universe has a way of working things out, even if it involves Chandler going to Yemen. Alyssa stood up, grabbing the guitar next to the stage. All right, everyone, in honor of the group that welcomed me with open arms, here's a song that I've been working on. Phoebe's eyes sparkled with pride as Alyssa strummed the familiar chords to Smelly Cat, singing, "Oh, Smelly Cat, where have you been? From the streets of New York to the sands of Yemen." Phoebe clapped. "Oh, a remix? I love it." The gang sang along, laughing and cheering. It was a moment of pure joy, one of those moments where everything felt right. After the impromptu performance, Chandler took a moment to pull Monica aside. "Mon, I'm really sorry about all this. I never meant for any of it to happen." Monica smiled gently, touching Chandler's cheek. "I know, Chan, but she's here now and she's family. We'll figure it out." Chandler grinned. "Does this mean I'm off the hook for forgetting our anniversary last month?" Monica laughed, pushing him playfully. "Nice try." As the evening drew to a close, the gang lingered outside Central Perk. The New York skyline painted a perfect backdrop for their goodbyes. With Alyssa now a part of the group, they all felt a renewed sense of unity and love. Chandler wrapped an arm around Alyssa's shoulders, squeezing her gently. "You know, if you ever cause trouble, there's always a trip to Yemen waiting for you." Alyssa laughed, rolling her eyes in true Bing fashion. "Dad, could you be any more dramatic?" Everyone laughed, feeling grateful for the ties that bind, the memories shared, and the love that always finds a way.